Well, hello and welcome to Mofo RC Garage. Today we're going to be turning backwards this way, and we will be doing an update while you stare at my moobs. This is an update on the Black Label Nano Beast kit. This will be pertinent to the pre-orders. Anyone who has pre-ordered recently will receive this new kit. The older kit should work marginally fine. Now, if you do have the older kit, I'm going to put an option up if you want to upgrade to the newer kit, the version 2 mount. There will be a way to do that on the website. Probably a few hours from now, after I go to bed, wake up, put it on the site. Right now it is Texas time, I believe right around 1 a.m. So I've been working on building these little motor kits all stinking day, as well as shipping out some of the orders. I had a little vacation. Went somewhere up in Grapevine, Texas, Great Wolf Lodge. It was pretty fun. You know, took all the kids, the wife, everybody. So I got back to about 150 orders after being gone for 4 days, 3 days, or whatever it was. And it's a little overwhelming, I'm not going to lie. But I'm doing the best I can. So in the new kit, if you had pre-ordered, which you will receive, is this new kit. If you had already received your Nano Beast motor, you will probably have the older kit, and you will be watching a different video for installation instructions on that one. There's another video somewhere on my channel. I don't know why I moved my fingers around, because I don't know how to make any things pop up on the screen here. So somewhere on my channel there is another instructional video and an update to that instructional video. There was a few, not really problems, but quirks, we'll call them, to that kit. And, you know, it's kind of a figure out as you go. When you're innovating things such as I am and trying to do things differently and trying to make things better, it's not always easy. You know, usually it's hard. And that's the reason why most people don't do this stuff, because it's hard. So, you know, I try my best for you guys. I love the hobby. I've been in it for a long time. And, you know, we'll get through it all together and we'll figure out the best way we possibly can. So today we have a tiny transmission for an scx24. We also have the Nano Beast 1209 motor, which is 2500 kV, sporting an 11-tooth pinion, which is the stock size pinion, but it does have a brass pinion gear already pressed on it via yours truly here. This is the tiny little motor. You can see the beautiful orange decorations on the black case. You can watch it spin when it's running. That's always fun to pass the time. Here's your little brass gear. The motor has a extremely wide, for its size, 9mm width rotors. It is a 12-pole motor, 9mm width rotors, tons of little copper windings in there, you know, tons of torque, very, very good low-speed control from this tiny thing. It is not a hot rod motor. It will not go very fast. It's about stock speed, maybe a little bit slower, but that's not really what we're here to talk about. We're here to talk about the new mount. So let me get back on track. The old mount had kind of a 1/3 cover of the gear train system. It had a 14-tooth transfer gear and a 1.4mm screw holding on the transfer gear. The new mount uses a 2mm width or whatever diameter screw with an 18-tooth 2mm gear for the transfer gear, This will ride inside the mount. It will go against this little gear, and it will spin, and it will reverse the rotation to make the actual spur gear spin the same exact direction as the motor while it's turning. What I'm going to do first is get the right driver. For this operation here, you're going to need an 050 or a 1.3 driver. You'll need a 1.5 driver. You will need a 4mm box wrench of some sort, and you will need a Phillips head tiny screwdriver. You will also need thread locker or super glue if you don't have thread locker, or both if you want to be fancy. So first, I'm just going to disassemble this transmission here. I'm going to take off the cover, remove these two 1.4 by 5mm screws that hold the cover on. Take the cover off, and there you have a spur gear. Normally you would have a motor, but this actually is one that I've already taken apart. I'm going to use my 4mm box, remove that little nylock nut. Then I'm going to pull off the spur gear, and now you have four 1.4 by 8mm long screws here. If you did have a motor on here, you would have two 1.5mm tool screws. Okay, it's an M2 screw, but it's a 1.5mm tool is what you need to remove those. It is also what you need to install the mount. So if you don't have a 1.5mm screw, you should probably have one, because you know, it's just handy to have anyways. And normally I would tell you to go ahead and go to my website and buy my Mofo RC toolkit, but at this time I have currently sold out of those again, and am currently awaiting the next shipment of those to come. So now that I removed those four screws, I can take off this old aluminum plate that we are not going to use, and now I just have a transmission, and I have my mounting pieces. Now the exciting thing about this new mount, it is completely captured. As you can tell here, we have a solid little Great Wall of Mofo going on here, top and bottom. You do have an opening here because there's a screw that goes right there. However, you do have a little snappity-doo here that's going to smush up and go right against that screw and pretty much totally encapsulate this whole mount here, so you don't get, you know, I don't know, silly putty or chewing gum or hair or fishing line. I don't know, whatever you can imagine that would get wound up in these gears, you know. So this is totally encapsulated. It is also much stiffer due to the Great Wall of Mofo going around it here and here. So the mount, pretty fairly straightforward installation onto the transmission. Just like you took off the other mount, you will install the new mount. You will set it on there like so. You will find your 1.4 by 8mm long screws, and you will insert them into the holes and screw them in. When you screw these in, be careful not to over tighten them. All you have to do is install the screw. You don't have to smush it down and crank it. If you start doing that, things are going to bend, things are going to warp, you're going to smush the plastic, and it's just not a good idea. So go ahead and just install these screws. You can see I'm only turning this teeny little shaft. I'm not holding the giant handle here. You really don't even need the handle. I'm just turning the little shaft and putting these screws in via turning the little shaft, because I'm not a 900-pound silverback gorilla. I am a man. So I'm going to go ahead and install screw number 4 here. Normally I would use a power tool, but I feel like making this video take longer. Now we have the mount base plate motor mount here installed onto the transmission. Next, we are going to go ahead and install the motor. The motor orientation will be sort of like this. Your wires are going to kind of stick up straight in the air like that. They were facing more this way towards the transmission, but I found with the new setup and where I've moved everything around here, there is lots and lots of changes to this mount versus the first version. Now it points straight up, which still doesn't really interfere with anything, and it creates a stronger mounting of the motor to the plate, because now the screws are opposite sided instead of right next to each other that install the motor. And you get to use the third one of these screws here, this one I think. This one right here will now hold this big screw. It's actually going to go through the outer plate, through the transfer gear, through the inner plate, and thread into this little piece of your motor bracket here. And what I'm going to go ahead and do before I install this motor, and when you install the motor, you're going to use the 2 screws included. These are Mofo RC high clearance head screws. They have a very big head that is very flat and very slender, so it will clear lots of things such as spur gears and whatever else for whatever purpose you're using them for. I do sell those separately on the website if you want those for your own personal fun. So here's the little tiny screwdriver I'm using. It is a Craftsman tool made in the USA back before China bought them. What I'm going to do now, I'm going to shake my Harbor Freight blue thread locker number 42. I think this stuff is like $1 a bottle. So if you don't have some of this, go to Harbor Freight and buy some. If you're a hobby enthusiast, you'll probably need it eventually anyway, so go ahead and do it. And what I'm going to do now, this little bottom hole here, I'm going to add a dabadoo of thread locker onto that before I install the motor. Now I'm going to stick the motor on here like so, and I'm going to thread one of these screws in slightly, but not all the way, just so that the motor doesn't fall off while I'm trying to install the other screw. I don't want to tighten that one all the way right now because I also don't want it to be in the wrong position. Now I'm going to go ahead and install the other screw, and you're not going to be able to see it because it's facing me and not you. Now I will go ahead and just lightly snug both of these screws here. You don't want to over tighten them, you don't want to smush plastic. If you're smushing plastic, you've tightened them too much. So go ahead and snug them. Then we will go ahead and install the spur gear. This goes on, it is directional. There's a hump sticking out further on one side than there is on the other side, so make sure that hump goes towards the transmission. Slide that sucker into the encapsulated box that it sits in, right behind the Great Wall of Mofo. I'm going to go ahead and put my little tiny lock nut on. And I don't recommend trying to do all this with the skid plate attached. Just take the whole transmission off. There's only 3 screws. There's one in the back right here, 2 on the bottom. The whole transmission comes off. So now that I have the spur gear on, I've got the motor on, I've already got the blue Loctite in the little motor encapsulated hole, whatever it's called. You don't need this stock motor plate, and you don't need the stock cover, so just put those to the side again because they're in the way again. Take the new Mofo motor plate that comes with the mount. You're going to set it right on top here, and then you're going to go, oh shoot, I forgot the stinking gear, and you're going to pull it off, and then you're going to find that big long silver screw that came with the kit. This big long silver screw, which is 10 millimeters long, will hold the gear on, so we're going to go ahead and slide it through. If you're looking at it this way, it is this middle hole here. If you're looking at it, I don't know, this way it's still that middle hole there. That way it's still the middle hole. So we're going to go ahead and install it through the middle hole and just kind of get it in there a little bit, just enough so that the gear can sit on it. Then we're going to go ahead and put the gear on that. Now we're going to smush these two together like so. And we're going to get that threading started for the transfer gear screw. I'm not going to tighten that all the way, and you won't need to tighten it all the way either. If you tighten it too much and this thing does not kind of rotate here like this, then you've probably gone too far. You're just going to get it on there where this still rotates and leave it alone. Let that Loctite do its work. Let it go ahead and harden up and dry. And we're going to take these other included 2mm screws that will be also using the 1.5mm tool, and you will install them in the 3 holes on the motor mount that currently do not have a screw in them. And we're not going to over tighten these either, because this is all really thin plastic on the cover. You're just going to use your fingertips to, I hate using even the word snug. I wish there was another, maybe hug. We're just going to hug the screw into there like so. And some of these are kind of tight. Let's go ahead and use the handle here. We're just going to give it a nice little hug there. Nice little happy hug. Then we're going to grab the last screw here finally. We're going to give the last screw its happy little hug spot. And hugged. All of these have now been hugged. This screw I still don't need to mess with. And now we are installed. I don't know if you can see the little white gear spinning as I turn this motor, but it is in fact spinning. And you can sit here and do this all day if you want, but you don't need to. Important notes. Let's see. These wires are very close to the casing. So what you can do, if you're worried about them rubbing on the casing, you can kind of grab it and just push in and down a little bit like so to kind of bend it in more, and then lift the wires back up. And that might just give you, you know, the 1/32 of a millimeter that you might need to keep the wires from touching the rotating housing of the Nano Beast. That's pretty much it. Now you go ahead and install your transmission back together, put the drive shafts on, get it all back together. You have this gorgeous little encapsulated motor combo here, which weighs just about the exact same amount, maybe even less, I don't know, I haven't measured it, as the stock motor setup, but it's going to have probably 4 times the torque as the stock motor. It might be a tiny bit slower than the stock motor, but it's going to be 150%, maybe 200% more awesome. So if you're planning on running this and you don't have a brushless electronic speed control, you will need to get a brushless electronic speed control. The ones I would recommend is the Furatech Lizard. And just so happens I sell these on the website. And you can buy them with the motor and kit for 99 bucks and 99 cents. This is $64.99 otherwise, which is the same price everybody else sells it for, but I also offer free shipping. So if you're gonna buy it from me. This is a great little ESC. It's super easy to connect. It comes with the Bluetooth module in it. It connects directly to your phone, and you can change tons of settings on it. You can change your startup speeds, your startup powers, your startup rotating torque, mass, blah blah blah, whatever. You can make it really set up and customized to your driving profile and how you like to feel you're driving. To hook it up and install it, it's fairly simple. You'll leave your stock ESC on there unless you have a new a new receiver and a new remote. Then you will plug the little 3 wires that look like, let me see if we got one that's open already. I don't. I've got a bunch of T-Goose that I never use because they're too big. But anyways, so there's a wire sticking out of this thing that looks like this. It might be white though instead of yellow. You will plug this directly into the number 2 port on your ESC or on your receiver. The wire coming out of this that has 3 prongs and looks just like this will plug into this. The third wire sticking out of this thing that looks like it would plug directly into a battery will plug directly into your battery. On your ESC, you will remove your old motor wire connector and your battery connector on your ESC. You will not be reinstalling anything into those ports, and you will basically just have your LED lights. You will have your ESC. If you're using a PureTech, you'll have the little plug that looks like a servo wire plugged into number 2, and the white wire will be sticking up towards the top of the ESC. That is called your signal wire. That's how those install. And I don't think I missed anything else. So if I did miss anything else, leave it in the comments. If you do happen to have any questions or issues, just hit me up on the either on the website or on the Facebook Messenger, MofoRC. I guess that's about it. Thank you for watching. Listen, oh, you can hear the perfect gear mesh in there too. Damn, I did a good job on this. Oh. So if you have any other questions or anything, let me know. Thank you for watching. Have a good night. I love you.